I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. This has really been quite the month. It's really been quite the year that we've been having. This is Live Talk at San Francisco Black Film Festival, and today ends the festival that is usually held during June, but it was held virtually this year. And it was extended because of the fact that we were developing a project with a partner who was going to have a pop-up drive-in in China Basin. But with everything that happened with the pandemic, things kept shifting from July 4th weekend to the end of August until ultimately we weren't able to have it. The focus of that pop-up drive-in event was the film Equal Standard by Tahim Bryan, and he is going to be hopefully joining us a little bit later. And we just appreciate everyone that has joined today. And today we're taking this time to give homage to Callie O'Ray, who unexpectedly died from a degenerative heart problem on August 7th, the first Friday of August. And then here we are, heartbroken already. And then the shock that came on the last Friday of the month, and that was the death of Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately died as a result of colon cancer. And that really speaks volumes to us. He heroically fought for 4 years. A lot of the treatment that he was receiving was during the time that he was even filming Black Panther and other films. So a lot can be said, and it's kind of significant that his demise came on the 28th, which was the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington. A lot of great news flowing out of Washington as a result of that. And then additionally, it was Jackie Robinson Day on the 28th, on Friday. And usually Jackie Robinson Day is held on April 15th, but this year it was held on the 28th as a result of the pandemic that all of us are facing. And, you know, there's a lot of loss, a lot of pain, but we did want to just take this time to give recognition on the local level in San Francisco to the great work that Callie O'Ray did in follow up to his mother's creation of the San Francisco Black Film Festival. And in that film festival, the theme of the film festival has always been healing the world one film at a time. So therefore, if there was a need to heal the world, it needed to be healed from something. And that very thing that Callie O'Ray and his team, Katira Crossley, his wife, who joined with him after the death of Ave Montague, who started the film festival, that thing that they've been fighting has been the negative view of the African diaspora in mainstream media. And so they have been cinematically fighting against racism. And so we thought it was really important to acknowledge him today, and also to acknowledge our Black Panther hero as well. All of the great work that was done by him that really promoted great images of people imagined and real. So I think that was really one of the reasons that it motivated me. This was not planned, but when that news hit, it just seemed appropriate. And so I really would like to thank the panelists that are here today. Karen Kaufman, of course, is here with us, and she has done a lot of great work when it comes to social justice here in San Francisco. She's on the Human Rights Commission for San Francisco, and also is a former PUC judge, and just has done a lot of great work that I hope will come out in the course of our having this conversation. So Karen, is there anything opening you'd like to say before we get started with our videos?
I would just like to say thank you, Jackie, and thank you to the San Francisco Black Film Festival, now in its 21st year, and looking forward to meeting together at some point in the next 24 months. That would be a good thing. I'm so glad you had this brainstorm, because all of us are suffering. We're feeling these losses. We're feeling the incredible and terrible loss of over 177,000 lives from the pandemic, and 177,000 families are suffering from those losses. Many of those losses are in the Black community in America and caused by health disparities from centuries of neglect and some not neglect, but bad intentions. And then we are suffering from the police brutality and racism and killing of Black people in America, who we are all under siege, really, and we are feeling besieged. I think that film and art can take us out of this and can certainly help uplift us, as much as, of course, are taking to the streets, as well as using our voices to communicate the pain and what we need.
Thank you. Such great points as well. And we have our award-winning civil rights attorney, and not only award-winning, but she's also a Supreme Court winning civil rights activist and attorney. When someone goes to the Supreme Court of the United States and wins when it comes to battling against racism, that is tremendous. Not everybody can put that on their resume. So I'm so pleased to have Pamela Price sharing with us today. And Pamela, few words from you.
Sure. Thank you, Jackie. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. I agree with what Karen has said. Thank you for having this brainstorm and for bringing us together and giving us this space to remember those who have shined light on our experience as the world of film and art does, and that it does heal us. And yes, I'm honored that my trip to the United States Supreme Court, of all things, was on behalf of a Black man fighting racial harassment against Amtrak. You know, a lot of people go to the Supreme Court, they represent the corporation or, you know, some big company. It was just me and Abner Morgan, and we went there and we claimed the victory and we brought it back home. And so it is so important for all of us as we are on this journey to remember that each of us has the ability to make a change and to be a change agent. And the folks that we're honoring here today clearly were change agents and gave us, you know, their legacy of life, of love, of sacrifice and service. So we have to honor that and remember that and move forward based on that. So thank you for having me. Appreciate this. Thank you. Thanks to everybody for coming.
It's a great honor to have you, and it's very special, I think, when I think of the fact that you and Karen have been friends with the San Francisco Black Film Festival for a number of years. And I recall the conversation that we all had with Jeff Adachi.
Yes. That
was in 2016. It was at Congregation Emmanuel. And it was his film, America Needs a Racial Facial. And that is one of the films that we're going to take a look at first. And we have a series of films that are very short. Number one, it's going to be the racial facial by Jeff Adachi, and also we're going to have Equal Standard, and then we're going to have some clips from our heroic actor that has meant so much to us that left us on Friday. And then from there, Sally Tran has a wonderful piece that will end the films that we're going to be looking at to just kind of get our conversation started. But I just wanted to acknowledge Pamela, you and Karen, for the fact that you were part of that conversation with Temple at Congregation Emmanuel to talk about racial implicit bias. And it was so great, the leadership of our then public defender, Jeff Adachi, who not only defended people in the courtroom, but he also defended them over media as well as a filmmaker. So really appreciate the fact that you all were a part of that. And we should, after we look at this, there might be some additional comments that you might want to make. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started with the films that we have to start our conversation and everything. So this is where it all begins, right here.
Yeah, Jackie, the sound is gone.
Bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. And some, I assume, are good people. And some, I assume, are good people. And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Segregation forever. Segregation forever. You could ask yourself, who taught you to hate seeing what God gave you? Who taught you? Who taught you?
Adele, how would you like to go to work for me? Yeah.
Unsafe, unprotected, self-directed, violent, hated for who you are, you become so scared that you defer to the powers that be, and you're willing to consent to your own domination. The history of black people in America. Anytime you look the terror in the face, what's going on? Who really cares? Save the baby. What's happening, brother? And we live now in revolutionary time, but the counter-revolution is winning. But the counter-revolution is winning. But the counter-revolution is winning.
Dunn told investigators he believed he saw 4 inches of a shotgun. Demonstrators were on the street. Police and Michael Brown was shot multiple times.
By a judge just moments before, after 35 years in prison. After 35 years in prison.
Good cop. Not many of us left.
I just stopped by to see my daughter.
Another young black male dead in his 20s due to the lack of training in the capability.
They come in our community, they kill our young black men, and they walk out without a scratch?
Fucking finish your life right now, motherfucker.
We have to blame ourselves too sometimes.
What you talking about?
Them white cops are scared too.
Lost seats for the next couple months.
Especially with all this shit going on, these police keep killing us out here in these streets like this. Police! I'm a cop. You got a badge. Let you talk to people like that. Step back! Step back!
What are you gonna do about this motherfucking nigger cop that shot my son?
Your eyes open. Not everybody's in favor of the turnout.
You want revenge? You're a fucking man.
Step out of the car.
The niggas be over like this.
Doctor's fingerprints were found at the scene.
Charge him.
They're not so much scared of the guns that we bust off. They're scared of us uniting.
Don't fucking tell me now you never see your wife and son again.
One thing I can say that speaks volumes to young people and cops is that we can come together.
We have a warrant for your arrest. Families are broken because of good votes.
Will not face any criminal charges in the shooting death of Williamson. He was unarmed at the time.
No, I don't need nobody else. Do white cops hate black people? I'm gonna shoot this motherfucking cop! So I'm just gonna love myself.
My daddy left us. I was only 6 months older than you are now. I don't remember him. You will remember me.
Jackie Robinson, a black man in white baseball.
I want you to know I'm there for you.
In my heart.
Think about the abuse that he's gonna take.
Your enemy will be out in force, but you cannot meet him on his own low ground.
What you gonna do if one of these pictures throws through your head?
I'll duck.
Mark my words and circle this date. Negroes are gonna run the white man straight out of baseball.
This ain't the America I know. You hear me?
If they knew you, they would be ashamed.
If Robinson can help us win, then he is going to play on this ball club. You don't belong here, and you never will.
Get off the field. Brooklyn Dodgers ain't changing our way of living.
We're wearing me down.
You are not the only one with something at stake here.
You want a player who doesn't have the guts to fight back?
No, I want a player who's got the guts not to fight back.
You give me a uniform. You give me a number on my back. I'll give you the guts.
I father, I Brooklyn Dodger them. I jack, I rob, I sin. Oh man, I'm Jackie Robinson. Set when I run base, I dodge the pen.
I'm just a ball player.
You a hero.
Why don't you look in the mirror? This is a white man's game. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here.
I'm a Brooklyn boy. I may take some getting used to.
Maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42.
You gentlemen are making a big mistake.
This here is Mr. Thurgood Marshall. Man is an attorney. You will treat him with the respect that he deserves.
My great-granddaddy, he was a slave. We're not slaves now. We got weapons we didn't have before. We've got the law.
Baby, you go into these towns, I've never seen a Negro lawyer.
Hey, Bart.
You need to be careful. NAACP.
Thurgood, you're going to Connecticut.
Joseph Spell, Negro servant, attached socialite in our own bedroom.
This case will show the world if a colored man can get a fair trial in the United States.
There's only 13 million Negroes depending on you.
Don't any of you have any confidence in me? I'd say you have enough confidence for us all. I only represent innocent people, people accused because of their race. That's my mission.
I never touched that woman.
I need a partner who the jury can relate to.
Sam Friedman. Good to meet you, Sam. Hey, give me a hand with these, would you?
What have you got in here, cement?
Guns. Books, Mr. Friedman.
You just sweep through town, stirring up all kinds of ugliness. My life is on the line here.
Hey, Attorney Friedman, hold on a minute.
What do you want? You're one of us now, Sam. A real fighter.
Step away, you can't take the heat on the battleground.
Neither of them have been telling us the truth.
He attacked me.
I'd advise him to accept the deal.
You lied in a sworn statement. Why would you do that?
Why'd I lie? Because the truth gets me killed.
You can't deny me now. Tunnel vision.
If you want freedom,
Tie me down on the mission.
you're gonna have to fight for it.
Stop me now.
The only way to get through a bigot's door is to break it down.
You can't stop me now.
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot Breeze. No, baby. Oh my God.
I'm minding my business. Please just leave me alone. I did nothing. Well, you had me the whole time. I'm not listening. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
41 shots were fired by plainclothes officers that sparked national outrage and conversations about race and police relations.
No person in the city, especially if you're of color, should have to worry when your children go out.
He was in handcuffs on the ground and they wailed on his head. Then they dragged him across the ground.
We, the jury, find the defendants not guilty.
This is not right.
I feel that it's a great travesty of justice to continue to abuse and oppress and suppress Black people.
The shooting death of 67-year-old Eleanor Bumpers.
I can't conceive of a circumstance wherein 6 or 8 heavily armed police officers have an inability to disarm one woman who was not committing a crime, I might add.
The violence broke out after a white male jury found 4 white policemen innocent in the death of Black Miami businessman Arthur McDuffie.
He was beaten to death.
We want justice, and we want it!
There was a tragedy in Montgomery. Your father was killed by the Montgomery Police Department.
Black men don't have their fathers in their life. I was only 2 months old. My dad was taken from me.
The pigs murdered Deputy Chairman in cold blood as he lay in his bed asleep.
All power to the people. You can jail a revolutionary, but you can't jail a revolution.
Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Please. Please, I can't breathe. Please.
How long I gotta hold him down?
The man ain't moved yet, bro. You think that's okay? Check his
People in Minnesota are saying to people all across this nation, enough is enough.
I'm mad as hell.
The whole world is watching to see if African Americans can get equal justice in 2020.
Now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. And it is the responsibility of us to make this better right now.
Hi, everyone. It looks like we have, this is Jackie once again from the San Francisco Black Film Festival. And I just want to say I really appreciate the great work that was done. my grandson, as a matter of fact, of putting together those pieces. So I really appreciate the work that he did in doing that, especially at the last moment as well. I am working on trying to get my screen back, and there we are. And it looks like right in my vision, I have Tahim Bryan, who is the author of that second film that we saw, which is Equal Standard. Tahim, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're on right now, so I just wanted to welcome you. Everyone, this is Tahim Bryan, who wrote the film Equal Standard. As a matter of fact, you will have an opportunity to see that film in the Bay Area really soon. It was one of the projects that Callie O'Ray was working on until he unfortunately passed. But one of the good things good news that we found out is that the Oakland International Film Festival that is going to be happening at the end of September is going to be showing that particular film. So thank you for joining us and everything. Tahim, do you want to open up with a couple of words or anything before we get right into our questions?
Thank you. I'm just blessed to be here with me. Let's get it on. Let's talk to the people.
Okay, great. Well, on our panel, we have former judge, Karen Compton, and she is the San Francisco Human Rights Commissioner. And we also have with us Pamela Price, who is a Supreme Court winning attorney, civil rights attorney. So they're part of the panel. And then of course we have our guests. I am told that we are booked to capacity. So there are some people out there that have texted me that aren't able to get in. So I'm gonna see what I can do if people drop off and that sort of thing. But I'll try to see what I can do to try to help people come in. And as a matter of fact, we have someone else that is joining us right now. Linda Parker-Pennington, I believe, is joining us from the Arts Commission. So the question at hand, once again, let's just revisit why we are here today. And that is to give tribute to Callie O'Ray, the director of the San Francisco Black Film Festival, and also to acknowledge one of our stellar artists that passed on Friday, Chadwick Boseman. So we are here to talk about the power of the heroic figure around those two lives. And the San Francisco Black Film Festival has a mission, a social justice mission at its foundation. And then Callie provided a platform for artists and various ones to be able to join us and from around the world to show positive images from the African diaspora. So it's just really, really important that on this last day of the festival that we honor them. And I'd like to begin with talking about racial facial, Karen.
Yes.
You know, yes. It was just really, really, really interesting. That was the first film that we showed. And it is on our website at sfbff.org. And it has been on for the entirety. And it was one of the films that we had discussion with the maker, Jeff Adachi, about implicit bias and its impact. So in watching that film again, were there some points that came up for you that you think we should discuss?
There are actually several. First of all, I did want to talk a little bit about Jeff's process in making racial facial. They did an analysis of attention span with young people now, what it is today. And so the images that they showed are shown for just a few seconds, but long enough for you to read it, to see it, to kind of process the information. But the images are quick and there are a lot of them. And the images go from the stereotypes to the positive images, from the violent images to hearing words that, whether it's George Wallace or Donald Trump, what they're saying, and you have to process that information quickly. And so just that process of putting together all those images was a huge task. There are, I think, 300 images that you see in that short period of time. And the point of hearing those images and seeing those images and hearing what's going on, and then there's music that was created for the film as well. We use this film for educational purposes, to show to school kids as well as adults, and so they can start to focus in on, we are inundated with these images every day, all day long, and we have been since the moving image in 1915 with Birth of a Nation. So you see a clip from the Birth of a Nation, you see some information from A Birth of a Nation, which really revitalized the Klan in the US. 1915 film, right? So the impact of the moving image has been tremendous in creating and perpetuating the lost cause myth that slavery was benign, that slavery was about states' rights, that the South lost because they were outnumbered. Various lies that were told that are completely ahistorical, but people believe. And then the United Daughters of the Confederacy use the lost cause myths in curriculum. So public school children, white school children, and Black school children in the former Confederacy all had textbooks teaching them about the lost cause. So it's reinforced in the media, in the movies, with the moving image, and in the classroom. And that has been, they still use these textbooks. They were awesome women, the United Daughters of the Confederacy. They were very organized. They were really amazing. Yeah. They were very organized. They had curriculum review committees, and they made sure that their version of the Civil War, of the South, of slavery was the one that went into literally the history books. So 120 years of this false information is what we are dealing with today. That's why generations of people believe this stuff. They believe that it was about states' rights. They believe in the inferiority of Black people and the superiority of white people. They also believe a fundamental thing that I think is brought out in Racial Facial, and that is, there is no such thing. The main lie is that there is no such thing in reality as race, only the human race. It was concocted. It's yet another one of those lies. And we know this today because of science, but look where we are today.
Exactly.
Even though Jeff made this in 2015, 2016, it was released, only because of that, right? Listen, we are in a very anti-intellectual, anti-scientific time period. And that is why we have lost 177,000 Americans, because of our anti-scientific rhetoric from the White House, right?
Exactly.
And we are still dealing with this. It's powerful. So I recommend that folks go to the Black Film Festival website, the San Francisco Black Film Festival website, download Racial Facial, share it, have discussions about it, analyze it, listen to the music, see what these images are, because these images are really powerful, and they are our day-to-day images. And then, of course, the final one, which Jackie will talk about later, but that's a really powerful 60 years still. Yeah. And I love that she chose still. I mean, yeah, it's a brilliant approach.
You know, one of the things that I want to bring out, and I meant to do this in the beginning so that people could have a concept and a context. Racial Facial is 8 minutes and 52 seconds. 8 minutes and 52 seconds. You see these visuals, one after the other, these stereotypes. And it's just a few seconds, about 9 seconds difference between 8 minutes and 46 seconds in which we saw, and then we also experienced with having the problem of George, oh my God, Floyd. I mean, when you look at those images, 8 minutes and 52 seconds, and you realize that someone had their knee on a man for that period of time, it is just enormous. So it gives you another perspective. So that film, and I've said before that if America had listened to that message that Jeff was given, maybe we would not have had that experience with George Floyd. And I want to move on to our Supreme Court winning civil rights panelists. Pamela, any comments from you concerning what we saw?
Sure. I guess I appreciate knowing the context, being reminded of the context in which Jeff created those images. And I love that, the work that he did, because images are not limited to the Black experience. I love how he highlights the experience of Native Americans and the struggle, and so much about the film and the images are about struggle, about the oppression, and then the resistance to the oppression. And so that's so important that he put those things together. You know, Jeff was such a voyager in that he reminded us of the racism that's embedded in the foundation of this country. When I see that film, that's what I'm like, okay, there's such a lost history around Native Americans. It does not get addressed or talked about at all. And how film and media usually, as Karen pointed out, is used to perpetuate the racism and the racist ideology of this country. And so much of that is prevalent, and it's what we've been exposed to. And as we see new films come out and new images that reflect really the reality of the beauty and the power of people of color, of Black people, I think that it's so important to maintain and to do what you're doing through the film festival, which is to highlight that and encourage that and expose people to that. There's, in this season, what I see and am concerned about as a civil rights lawyer is both the danger of co-optation, how Now everybody wants to say Black Lives Matter. People who could give a damn about Black lives, okay, who are in the business of oppressing Black people. Suddenly, you know, I want to highlight San Francisco Police Department. They're going to put Black Lives Matters banners in every precinct in the San Francisco. And I was like, really? I happen to be suing them for race discrimination. How's that gonna work out? Okay, this is so interesting. So it's so easy for people to co-opt our movement and the images of our movement, but those images, what we see in the films that were presented today, those images can't be co-opted because they are based in reality. And so we really need those images to maintain what is real in the world, as opposed to the facade and fantasy that people want to create around what does it mean to be part of the American dream.
Exactly.
I think
one of the things that Karen brought up was Birth of a Nation, and how that perpetuated and created and increased the number of people that became Klansmen and that sort of thing. So my topic at hand was the power of the heroic figure to fight racism. And, you know, when I wrote that, I thought about that. Well, what's the converse of that? And I think, Karen, you brought that converse out by the fact of Birth of a Nation created a lot of various racism that grew in our country as a result of that film. So that is really something to consider, that those images can be positive or those images can be negative. So I think that's really something that we should consider when we're looking at everything. And it looks like I was looking for Tahim. I wanted him to talk a little bit about. Let's see. Are you there, Tahim?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. I wanted to talk a little bit. I just mentioned the fact that, you know, when it comes to that heroic figure, depending on the side of the coin, it could be something positive or it could be something negative, depending on who's telling the story. And in the case of your film, Equal Justice, a lot is said in that name, not equal justice, but equal standard. Equal standard. A lot is said in that. So what were you trying to do in terms of the narrative and putting forth positive things?
Well, one thing, and I had, like you said, the key word was change the narrative, because that was the only way we could get my point across, because dealing with race relations is such a delicate topic, and not so many people choose to want to accept it, you know what I mean, but it's being enforced, because I've experienced firsthand. So I just want an equal standard to actually to take you through the eyes of the inner city, of the streets, on how injustice is targeted towards the younger youth, based off of whether some feel it's gang affiliation or just being out there of race. So I want to bring equal standard into that perspective, so people get a chance to see not only through one side, but also through the opposing side. Because if you just tell a story dealing with race, dealing with one perspective, you won't get the positive results. I use an analogy like a pick of a song. If you make a song with just one verse and without a hook, then it would just be one verse. So you only get just a particular perspective. So with equal standard, I had to give both sides of the fence, just to show the one thing that we ask for, they demand, which is being treated fairly. You know, I think that would be the only way to present a project like this, is to give a dual understanding.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I think it's Tobias Touvion, who is actually the person that is the star of your piece, Tahim.
Correct. That's correct.
And he's a cop. So, how did that idea come to you to actually have that internal conflict in the police department itself?
one thing I had to try to remove as much ammunition that they would choose to use against me by saying if it would have been a regular a minority couple from the community, they would have said, well, they're just blacks that don't like the police department. So what I had to do is I made them all officers and high-ranking officers, so they couldn't use that ammunition against me or to the culture itself, and present the same thing that goes on outside the precinct also goes on within the streets as well. Racism is enforced in every dynamic, whether through in the benevolent society or within the communities that we come from. So I had to present it in that manner right there, to get into the police department, to show that the blue wall silence, that it does exist, and as well as to single out the ones that want to speak up, that are afraid to speak out, but may only do it within their peers.
Yeah, because one of the things, having seen the film, and people can Google it, and it's posted on Vimeo. If they can't wait to the Oakland International Film Festival to see it, one of the things that was really interesting is there was that personal heroism that had to occur among the white officers as well, in order to make sure that justice was served. So do you think that was a realistic theme that you had?
Of course, yes, I believe it is realistic. It may not be enforced the way it should, but it is a reality. It's just that it's not being geared towards accountability dealing with them. But I believe it is a reality. You know what I mean? Justice can consist of penalty or reward. It's just that the justice that we seek for them to have, they're not being handed down. But of course, I do believe it is possible, and it does exist.
Okay, great. You know, one of the things, I don't know if you got in time to see Sally Tran's piece. She is an artist that's based in New York, like you're in New York. And her piece, just about 3 minutes and 25 seconds or so, is on the San Francisco Black Film Festival website for anyone that came in late or didn't get a chance to see it. And it was so interesting of how she used various media, and also the real sound of the situations of the injustices of what happened to George Floyd, what happened to Breonna Taylor, and several others. You know, too many people that it shouldn't have happened to in the first place. And she is Vietnamese originally, by way of, I think it's not Australia, but she's from that region of originally and everything. And so it was interesting to see how she had captured the story of injustice and that sort of thing. So it goes beyond just particularly a color of the skin, because as Karen had brought up, there is no such thing as race. It's just the human race that we're part of. And that's one of the things that I think was so significant about the San Francisco Black Film Festival leadership under Kalia Ray, where that idea of bringing forth the African diaspora so that people could feel comfortable from any race or culture, so-called race, quote unquote, to look at the human story, the human existence, the fact that we want to have the same things as everybody else wants to have. We want to have justice. We want to have fairness. We want to be able to clothe and feed our children. We want to have housing. The same things that 57 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King was marching about. We were reminded on Friday, that on the 28th, that those are the same kinds of things that we're searching for. And it's interesting to note that the media impacts things a lot. We weren't able to have our playwright, Micah Penn, join us, but he did a piece in honor of Kalia Ray on the 8th, right afterwards, after his death. We went ahead and had the screening of that, or not the screening, but a reading of Riot 1906, Atlanta 1906, Riot Atlanta 1906. Who knew? I didn't know. Growing up in Georgia, I didn't know that there had been riots about 100 years ago that are similar, that are caused by the same kind of unrest that is happening here today. So the significance of the San Francisco Black Film Festival, the work that Callie O'Ray did, and the work that is going on with Katira Crossley, his wife, is just really important. And I appreciate everybody coming in to talk about this whole issue of the power of the heroic figure. And let's talk a little bit about the great work of Mr. Boseman that he did. Oh my goodness. I guess I'd like to start with you, Tahim. You're on the panel and you're a man. What did you think of his work in terms of his doing the work that included, you know, a film about James Brown, Marshall, and Jackie Robinson, and of course, you know, the impact of the imagined hero of the Black Panther? Your thoughts about that, his work?
I love I'll rest in peace to him. I love Chad's body of work because it empowered the people of color, you know what I mean, more than anything. You know, when I seen, because I wasn't ever into comic books, so when I seen Black Panther, it definitely resonated to me instantly, because I always felt not all superheroes gotta not look of, they want to be of color sometimes. So when I seen him play that character right there, he was so inspirational in the way he delivered it that I actually took 100 kids from the community, bought out one theater room for we all to go see it that Saturday it came out. So that's how much that movie meant to me, and as well as the youth that came under me, because when I was younger, we would see people of color on calendars of great warriors and soldiers that represented the people, the kings and queens of Africa. Now, we don't see those figures as we used to do when we were coming up, when we was able to buy those different artifacts. So when he plays all those different characters with the baby, all inspirational Black men, of course it resonated and it touched home. So it's definitely a tremendous loss, and he carried out the conviction of characters very well, because we all live and breathe the same situation of color. So I loved his body of work.
Yeah, it was actually very, very inspirational. And it was amazing to me how he could change characters so much. I mean, when he played Marshall, I was just blown away by that. And so the variety of his work is just really, really tremendous. And just to see Pamela or Judge Clofton, I saw you praising, saying yay. So something you want to comment on? Let me see, Karen, I think you're muted.
I had to mute because I had some noisy barking dogs here. Okay. Anyway, I was applauding Tahim with the sign language applaud.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing with Equal Standard. And I hear you about the compromises that we have to make in order to get films produced and supported, and the concept of both sides or all sides, and the subtlety that you are using to address that by showing Black men in blue and the conflict that they experience, and how dangerous it can be for them. I think that, you know, when we talk about, you know, the pseudoscience of race and how we're continuing it, we're perpetuating it by white people calling themselves, and by us calling white people Caucasians, which there is no Caucasia. You know, that's a made up word from a white European, a German anthropologist trying to rationalize and categorize people in order to rationalize colonialization and enslavement, and the enslavement of Black people. And so, because psychologically it's rough with that kind of depravity, explaining, how do you explain that kind of depravity towards human beings? So this continued dehumanization, it must end, and our addressing it legislatively, judicially, in the criminal justice system, in the administration of justice, in art, in all the visual arts, in the literary arts. We have to bring out every possible medium that we can use in order to confront the racist ideas that have that are the foundation of certainly of this country and the foundation of global capitalism. So while we're looking at these films, and I do want to do a shout out to say happy birthday to Jeff Adachi, which his birthday was yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so his birthday was yesterday, and he left a body of work, not just as the public defender and rooting out corruption in the police department and speaking up for Mario Woods, because you'll see Mario Woods is in racial facial. So yes, America needs a racial facial, and Jeff is still speaking to us through this medium. He also, in that film, you see Japanese Americans, you see Japanese people who, of course, were and continue to be oppressed in the US and discriminated against, and were caged in horse stables, whole families in horse stables during World War II. And I think a lot of people don't realize that happened during internment. It's not that, you know, there was no vacation time, and then they were enslaved. They used them as forced labor. So in addition to that, they were conscripted. The men were conscripted into a segregated unit. So a lot of things have happened in the name of these racist ideas and the perpetuation of white supremacy. We also saw in Racial Facial about the Chicano movement. And so people kind of have forgotten about the Chicano power and Chicano movement. And that's been subsumed in a way with the concept of Latinos or and transgendered Latinos, which are Latinx. So when we're looking at all of the racist ideas that we're inundated with in media, whether it's the movies or television shows, commercials, or newspaper articles, how they describe events, how they describe crimes. We just saw what happened when the difference between a criminal, a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, killing people in Kenosha, right? How he was treated by the police, and then how the police treated this man who's with his family, tried to break up a fight. Now they're trying to recharacterize it. They're working on, you know, it must have been a reason, because they consider the black man a criminal, and this white terrorist, born and bred as a vigilante, exactly, as a militiaman, as a helper.
And generational too. It was my understanding that his mother drove him to the
yes, his mother purchased the weapons. His mother purchased the weapons and drove him. It's quite a distance. I mean, it's over 40 miles from where they are to Kenosha, Wisconsin. So they drove from another state. So lots of crimes were committed there, but they actually are not characterizing these people in that way, which is really outrageous. But at least we're all watching. We're all watching what the media is doing, and we have to stand up to it. We have to continue this conversation. We can't be silent about it, and we have to bring out every force that we have, including what Tahim is doing and what Amma is doing, Attorney Pamela Price. We call her Amma because she's much loved by all of us. So we have to really, this is our time to do everything we possibly can, because we cannot survive another 4 years of corruption in our government and wholesale slaughter of Black people. And that is what will happen, because there will be no reason to have a pretense towards police reform. If these people stay in, if the criminals stay in, there will be no reason to pretend that they have any positive feelings about Black people in America.
Exactly. You know, the whole idea of media and the importance of it, I think, has been reinforced by all the speakers and everybody that's spoken so far. Since we do have the arts commissioner, one of our arts commissioners with us, Linda Parker-Pennington, just wanted to see if she had any comments before I go back to Pamela, and to see if the audience has any questions.
Yes, thank you, Jackie. And at first, I just want to say thank you so much, Jackie, for organizing this forum and these wonderful speakers. You know, Sister Karen Clopton, she's also Commissioner, Human Rights Commission, and you know, Pamela Price, attorney, and Tahim, we haven't met, but I really love hearing what you have said about the body of work of Chad Boseman. So I just wanted to say, from my perspective, you know, I'm on the Arts Commission, but I am, you know, a patron of the arts and the soul of an artist, and I really, really understand the critical importance of arts, the arts for activism, especially now. As a tool to tell our stories from our own perspectives, to mobilize people, to make something happen different than what we're seeing happen right now. And I totally agree with you, Karen, about the need for us to get out there and make a difference. And so I think these films, which I haven't had the chance to see, although I have seen other films by Jeff Adachi, and one of the many things I loved about him was that he had this lens of a filmmaker and is doing work for social justice, right, and equity. And he used his particular storytelling medium with film so effectively. So I'm really glad that he had a platform here, and sorry to have lost him. And I really wanted to just say about Kali O'Ray, who was absolutely one of our most brilliant sons, and you know, having taken the film festival, the legacy that his mother created, and to continue to sustain it and to bring so many different stories. And I, you know, was there every year because what was being shown was so important. So I hope everyone, if you haven't already, you know, goes and looks at the films that are there on SFBFF, the website, while they're up, follows those filmmakers, follows their journeys, and we need to support one another as we apply our art and bring this visual medium to everyone, because it's so much more accessible now. And thank goodness it's all there for us to see on the web, since we're stuck at home anyway. But I really appreciate being able to see you all, you know, even virtually, and just to have a moment to say how wonderful it is that we have such creativity and capability in our community that we can share with each other. So I'm just delighted. So I want to come back to you, Jackie, and say thank you. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to pay tribute to Kali O'Ray and Chadwick Boseman, and to see these wonderful films that have been shared.
Thank you.
I wanted to just say for a moment a little bit about Black philanthropy and for everybody on the call, because Linda just talked about being a patron of the arts, and she's a great champion for the arts in the city and beyond. And so we can all do that. We can be supporting Black artists. We can support Black filmmakers. We can support the Black Film Festival, the San Francisco Black Film Festival. I was very honored to seed the Black Wellness Fund in San Francisco, which is housed under the San Francisco Foundation. You can go to the San Francisco Foundation website and donate to the Black Wellness Fund, which will help Black people in the San Francisco Bay Area, both with stemming out migration and looking at repatriation. And of course, addressing mental health issues and our disparate health outcomes. And that's really what we're looking at with these untimely deaths of both these important champions and artists. And as we do a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who really represented so many of our heroes, from Thurgood Marshall.
I mean, really, who?
To James Brown, the hardest working man in show business. And what a great actor. And the reason I think about him with Denzel Washington and philanthropy and Linda's work as a patron of the arts is that Denzel Washington gave a scholarship, funded a scholarship for Chadwick Boseman to go to a special drama school and camp. So Denzel Washington is paying it forward. We owe that debt to him, but he had some resources and he did that. And we have resources collectively and we can do that. We can be sponsoring the next Chadwick Boseman. And Chadwick Boseman went to Howard University and HBCU. We should be celebrating and contributing to HBCUs throughout the nation. And I know those of you on the call who went to Howard and HU, you know, and who look at it as the Mecca. But our king is an alumnus. And so, you know, we can do this because ain't nobody coming.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to do it for ourselves and we can do it.
Exactly. You know, it's really interesting how things have a way of speaking just in the course of the organic. You might have noticed that we lost Tahim, who is in New York. He texted me to let me know that the call possibly would drop because he was going through a tunnel. And so that reminds me of Chadwick Boseman and the fact that he had this wonderful film called 21 Bridges, in which he played a police officer in New York. And it was just so counter to a lot of the other things that I've seen, and just to see the great work that he had done. So just that moment of going through the bridge with Tahim reminded me of Chadwick and his work. And on that note, I just wanted to touch base with Pamela to see if there were any other points. And then if anybody has any questions or anything that they'd like to say, please raise your hand and I'll try to unmute you. Pamela?
Yeah, sure. You know, I'll pick up on what you said and what I've heard in the last few minutes. What we've talked about is that both of these men whom we're honoring today had a body of work. And when I think about, as a lawyer, someone who wants to have a body of work, I think about Thurgood Marshall. And I think about all the work that he did and all the cases that he did and all the people that he was committed to helping. And we only hear a small sliver of the body of work of Thurgood Marshall. You know, our history focuses us on Brown versus Board of Education, but he talked about his greatest case was the Groveland boys in Florida and the work that he did with the civil rights activists. I mean, he was someone who was always working on behalf of the liberation of Black people. And the thing that we can take pride about with the work that Chadwick did and the work that Kaylee did is that it wasn't just them. They didn't do it just for them. They did it to lift up our people. They did it in a way that did lift us up. And it was the empowerment of so many people. When I look at the images of Black Panther and the popularity of that movie, I mean, obviously the brother is fine, and we all know that. Okay, we have to give him that. Mm. But it's also the visual empowerment of the women, his security, detail. It's the empowerment of his mother, Angela Bassett. It's the empowerment of Black people that you just said. I think that's what blew us all away was, oh, wow, look at Wakanda, right? And look at them in the world and all of the energy that went into that. And he talks about that it wasn't just, what gave him such pride was that there were so many people who were contributed to make that movie what it was. It was the costumes, it was the cast, it was the script. You know, Ryan Coogler, I'm so proud of him. I knew his mom. I know his mom and his dad, and I knew him before he was thought of, when he was the twinkle in his father's eye. And to see that this young man has been able to blossom and to bloom in that way, knowing that he came from a Black family in the Bay, okay? This is the brother who did Fruitvale Station that brought us Black Panther. And so across the board, we are seeing not just one individual, but we're seeing the collective that is reflected. And I have to agree with Karen. I loved Black Panther, and I watched it the other night just because I appreciate the visual, the media effect and the impact that it had. And that's reflected in the movie. When you see kids in the movie and how they dealt with our children, and how important that was. But I've had to say, and I started saying it after I loved the movie, but I had to remind people in the activist moment and in the activism that will continue, that the Wakandans are not coming, y'all.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The Wakandans are not coming. We have got to continue to push the envelope. We can be inspired by the Wakandans. We can love the Wakandans. We can appreciate the Wakandans, but in the real world, we got to be the Wakandans.
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Thank you. So that's where I want to leave y'all with. We to be the
Wakandans.
All
right. Civil rights attorney, Pamela Price, Oakland. Love it. All great points. Now, I had a comment from, I think it was Laura Ellen McKinney. There is a fundraiser event that she mentioned that is in association with you, I believe, Karen. So, are you, Laura? Can you share with us? I tried to unmute you.
I'm unmuted. No, I was letting you know that I'm.
Okay. Okay.
College friends.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought someone had mentioned about a fundraiser and everything too, that had happened or was happening. So anyway, you saw I got my glasses on, but I guess I didn't read correctly.
You're not wrong about that. But I wanted to say that one of Chadwick's quotes was that he said that when I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I have not a single bit of talent left, and I could say I used everything you gave me. And I think that's something that all of the folks who are artists, and I am one, I'm a psychologist who's an artist, want to do. And it's been hard for folks who are artists to have platforms during the pandemic. And so I decided to create one and put together a a national fundraiser for folks. So we had comedians, we had fine artists who talked about their work, we had poets, we had a dramatic reading from a play that's on its way to Broadway about the life of Elin Harris that we got special permission for. We had 20 folks, and they did quite remarkable things. And we had a number of people who donated a lot of funds to support those artists. So I was really happy about that. And I wanted to make certain that it got out to more people. So that was done live. And then at the end of it, we had a dance party and everybody danced. And I had about 20 people who were volunteers from all over the country, so we could spotlight you while you were dancing and that kind of thing. And so what we're doing now is that we are editing this, and we will be able to, and we're putting in some sort of special guests who weren't in the original. And it's going to be available in a couple of weeks. So it will be available for one weekend only for viewing, not sharing, not downloading, but for viewing and for contributing to, so that there will be more funds available for those artists. I wanted to make certain that people could be supported, because not everyone gets a stage, but lots of people have huge talent. And
now, is there a website or something that you can share with us now, or that we can?
Where all of you are, or I can get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you could let me know what the website is, I definitely will use it in the write-up about this, as we are recording, and I will post it and everything. And if you want to share it through the chat, or if you can give it to us now verbally, that would be great.
I don't have the Zoom link now.
Okay. All right, then we definitely will share that. You know, we're getting near the time, and I just wanted to see if there was anything else from the panelists that anybody wanted to comment. If there is, we might be able to squeeze in one other comment from someone else in the audience, but anyone else on the panel, or are you yielding your time to the audience? Looks like we are. Anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment? And I just appreciate so much the positive things that people are putting in the chat to me and everything. I so appreciate that. So thank you guys and everything.
Yeah, I want to say something.
Okay, that's Ken Johnson. Hello, Ken. You've worked with the San Francisco Black Film Festival for a number of years, doing a lot of work. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's with sadness I come and approach you, as all of you are, about Kali. I learned so much, and I met so many stars during the Black Film Festival. And yeah, I just wanted to him. I knew his mom, but briefly, and I think it would be great if we could rename the screening room the Ave Montague and Khalil Ray Memorial Screening Room in honor of him, and try to help that Black Film Festival continue to go, because we need more filmmakers and young people. If we could, get more people involved in filmmaking, then I think we could reduce crime in the Black community, because we got to start telling our own stories. We got to show these youngsters that, how powerful filmmaking is, and it's fun, So, I think that could be could really help our young people, because a lot of them have no idea what they want to do and things like that. And filmmaking is so many different elements to filmmaking, and so many careers involved in the filmmaking. Like if some movies, the credits are 5 minutes long. That tells you how many people are working on the film. Yeah. So if we had a group of film and brothers in all the communities making films, they wouldn't have time to get into trouble.
Exactly. It's really great. Thanks, Ken, for chiming in. I think a very important point of that memorial for us to consider. And as we have one of our commissioners here in the conversation, Linda Parker-Pennington, I hope will help get that message across. And there's so many other things that could be done. There is the creation of jobs, as you mentioned. One of the things that I thought about as I looked at the body of work for Chadwick Boseman was the number of people that had work as a result of his work, you know. And so he was generating a lot of work and everything, and just seeing all of the great work that's going on is just marvelous. You mentioned Ryan Coogler. There is, he's going to be the executive producer for a film. And I probably shouldn't even try to say it, but I think it's called Black Judas. And I'll correct it in my write-up and everything, but I'd love to have a link to that in the write-up about this, because it is tremendous when you look at how the stories we've been told about the Black Panthers, but then the reality of really what happened. These are the kinds of things that we need to know, and that's why the San Francisco Black Film Festival is very important. And on that note, it is time for us to pretty much wrap up, but on our way out, I have something that I want to share, and I can't say that I found this on my own. As a matter of fact, this came from Karen Clompton, and I think it speaks volumes. It speaks to what Pamela said, and she had no idea that this artistic work was going to be coming forth, but it speaks to the fact that we are the Wakandans. We are the ones, we look in the mirror, and we are going to have to be the ones for the salvation. So on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and continue to support people in the Black arts. Let's continue to support the work ethic that Chadwick Boseman and Callie O'Ray gave us, where they gave their hearts. And one of the things that I want to mention that Callie said is, he said, the San Francisco Black Film Festival has to be in the Fillmore because of our legacy, and there is no one else that can carry it on. And so I'm paraphrasing it somewhat, but that's what he was determined to work and just do all he could to make sure that great things happened through the film festival, and that they happened, that the base would actually be the Fillmore. So thank you all for joining us today. And I look forward to connecting with you. You can look at the San Francisco Black Film Festival, although it ends today officially. I'm sure some of the films that you saw today could still be found on the festival site, and we're looking forward to a great body of work to continue under the leadership of Callie O'Ray's wife, who has been stellar. I appreciate her so much, considering what she and the family is going through right now. She and the family are going through right now. So thank you all. And on that note, I am going to end with a soundtrack from us, a song from Black Panther. And I think it's very appropriate. Its music soundtracks are a very significant part of generating money, generating ideas from film as well. So at the end of this Black Panther song, this will be the end of our program. So I just wanted to thank you again, and without further ado, we're just going to let this speak for ourselves, that we are the Wakandans.
I'm always ready for a war again.
Good.
It's all the same. I'm always ready to take a life again. You know I'll ride again. It's all the same. Tell me who who's gonna save me from myself? And this life is all I know. Tell me who's gonna save me from this hell? Without you, I'm alone. You gon' pray for me, take my pain for me, save my soul for me. 'Cause I'm alone to see if I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spend this life for you. I fight the world, I fight you, I fight myself, I fight God, just tell me how many burdens left. I fight pain and hurricanes, today I wept. I'm trying to fight back tears, flood on my doorsteps. Life and living hell, puddles of blood in the street, shooters on top of the building, government aid ain't relief. Earthquake, the body drop, the ground breaks, the poor run with smoke lungs and scar face. Who need a hero? You need a hero, look in the mirror, there go your hero. Who on the front lines at ground zero? My heart don't skip a beat even when hard times bumps the needle. Mass destruction and mass corruption, the souls of suffering men. Clutching on deaf ears again, rapture's coming. It's all prophecy, and if I gotta be sacrificed for the greater good, then that's what it gotta be. Pray for me, take my pain for me, save my soul for me. 'Cause I'm alone to see if I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spend this life for you. Who gon' pray for me, take my pain for me, save my soul for me. 'Cause I'm alone to see if I'm gon' die for you, if I'm gon' kill for you, then I spill this blood for you. Hey. Just in case my fate, I live by my own. I live by my own. I live by my own. Just in case my fate, I live by my own. I live by my own. I live by my own.